Hello. I'm going to try to put my opinion in on this Supreme Court Justice nominee, Amy Coney Barrett. The Honorable Judge Barrett, I'm probably supposed to say all of her name and everything. I'll be honest with her and everybody else. I feel for her. I basically just, over the last few days, what I could catch on the media and everything else is nothing on YouTube over it. It's like it's a pariah. And I generally troll some of those things, or I guess troll isn't the right word. I'm so old. It used to mean that you were just scanning or surfing the internet, and then surfing came up, and then trolling means you sit around on there and be like, hey, you're a blank, bad word, and other stuff. Honestly, I think that that's what they're doing, a lot of it, and they're just trying to troll the nominee. I really do. I really think they're trying to troll the nominee. I watched two senators on the committee do 30 minutes of grandstanding with almost nothing that could be done, and it's like they're trying to channel the character of Ruth Bader Ginsburg into her, and she's doing what she has to do that everyone has to do, which is basically can't really say anything. They can't really say anything over previous court cases. And I think that this, with Roe versus Wade, is an older issue. It's something that they're not really going about with. And I can't see anything that they'd be doing over that much of the Second Amendment. And what I think is the main thing out there and everything else is like as the senator from her previous confirmation hearing said, the faith speaks loudly in you. And I think that, in a way, the thing that's going to be coming up more that people need to look at is questions that they're not answering and that they're not looking at. They're looking at a legacy of the past. And in a way, I think that they're trying to show how much of a shadow she's in. And they talk about how important this is. So let's talk about an important question. The possibility of legalizing certain religions that are not allowed here. They may only be allowed in the home, one of them that I'll bring up. And the other is still considered an illegal religion of war and is not allowed to be done in the United States of America. I do know that this religion does still take place in and around Knoxville. And as far as I can tell you, it's very benign. It's very nothing. But these two religions that I'm going to bring up are the British faith and organization. You can do the British faith in the privacy of your own home. You can do that. It is actually legal. You can go out and you can do whatever it is that British people do in the privacy of their own home. You know, everybody's going to go on, it's like, oh, they've got Celts or something else, and they're doing human sacrifices, whatever it is. No one is allowed to do human sacrifices in the United States for religious purposes. That's against one's own individual freedom and personal liberty, and there's actually things out there that are federal laws against that are based off of the First Amendment, and the first part of it that's over freedom of religion. Also with freedom of assembly and freedom of the press, which has to do with manufacturing, making, and everything else. It's not just a printed word. Yeah, metal presses and other stuff. I know they're going to get on to me. Comment, please. Share. Controversy. But in and of itself, the fact over faith in Christianity, which is something that is incredibly highly regulated because of the way the founding fathers had to separate themselves from the old royal religions of Europe, even in a way from some areas of Africa if you go back far enough. You could even make certain situations said over to China and the other areas. I've recently had some old stories taken from me. Sorry for the pausing right then. Out of a notebook, Trapper Keeper. Anyway, I digress. What is it about the British faith that is illegal here? Well, there are some laws over there that say that any group that organizes is supposed to be bringing any Irish, granted it's their word, Irish means rebellious, colony, separatist, Confederate, however you want to look at it, or group of held territory, basically the original 13 colonies and what was won in the French and Indian War, back underneath British rule. That's why we don't allow them to have open religious gatherings here. And everybody who comes over has to be registered, everything else like that, even if they fought with us in World War II. And due to our allied nature from World War I and all the engagements and allied situations, all the way up to the war on terror that they are still supporting us with in Afghanistan, we have to look at the possibility, is this some way of saying that we are not an Irish territory unto them and a independent nation unto it, have a separation in it, and that we can have a more together situation and allow them to practice their religion, racial, tribalistic situation here with us without any need of overt, because there are people who monitor that. There are people who monitor anything out there. The other situation, I'm going to move along from there. I'm not going to try to define the religious situation, what they think they are, what they, think they are on faith, or what they are in that which is their racial practicings of communion and unity through family or anything else. I'm going to move on to that which is something that is going to sound a little bit different, and it does revolve around the smoking of actual salt. We do have a lot of people that are here from the time of World War II in this city. Many of them are Latin in a base of a way. I'm not saying that they were necessarily affiliated with Mussolini, but this can be considered something that is a racial religion off of their practicement of faith in their way of how they express themselves publicly or something else. And you're going to laugh at me and be like, and it's like this: I will die if I'm ever around any cocaine product. Novocaine at the dentist office, can't have it. Can't be around it. Can't, breathe it in. I know certain people get it and put it in their cone and then stuff their tobacco in it and smoke it. Can't be around them. There's guys that swear by it. They still do their millwright stuff all the way to 60, 80 years of age. And they will go and they're just great at their job for like 8-10 hours after smoking one of them. Have it on their break. Can't be around it. Got to jab myself with the EpiPen. And they're like, you can't be around cocaine or anything else. Being the police, narcotics unit, whatever. You ain't going to be, nah. Welcome to my life from like basically 7 years old. But again, I digress. But in this, people I know do make their own salt. They mix it with salt water. They get the rock salt and mix it up. And then they boil it down. And they get it to go across different things out there, picks up the iron, picks up other stuff like that, and it does resemble a lot of drugs. And it does have some people call in on them. They go in, they pass the sobriety test, everything else, all of this. Do they have a pay for communion thing? I've not really seen or experienced anything like that. But then they take the salt and they smoke it because they're, whatever it is, got too aggressive, let's put it that way. And that's one of the things that they drop all the time, so I'll drop it here. They got too aggressive in Iraq. They got too aggressive in Afghanistan, for lack of a better terminology. It's a lot of the Stan area. We had an air base in one place, and we've taken up the air base. They got a little too aggressive. What that means, I don't know. They came back, and they're on whatever it is, 6-month hiatus. It was into their 2 years. They said they might need to take some time off. They're getting a little too aggressive. I don't ask unless they tell me. They go and get their salt. They make it. They're basically right in front of me. Everything else. They've shown me this sculpture. And they will cut an end of a test tube off. And then it's like turn right around and smoking. I'm going, I am so going to jail for at least 24 hours on this. There is no way anybody is not going to think whatever this is beyond anything with seeing it or anything else. And I just keep going, and it's like, to me, it's like, I've got a delayed situation because I know what it is. I know what they're doing. Romans and Latins in that area of Italy were paid in salt. They're in the army. They aren't dishonorably discharged. They do things with salt. And they will smoke their salt. And they have all sorts of things out there for it in different ways that they do. It's like they'll use a plastic thing to evaporate it in and say, oh, it makes me not remember. Oh, it makes me, able to not bleed out or have this, that, and the other. They do it in a cast iron thing and everything else. Makes them stronger and, they don't bleed out. And if they do it over glass or something else, there's nothing wrong with them. They do it over a type of pottery or porcelain, which I'm going, I hope it doesn't have lead in it, honestly. But they're like, lead's not too bad for us. It's a cultural thing for them. Would we be allowing that as a form of that which is ritualized communion in Latin Catholic situations? And also with that, the reason why it's illegal is because that's what the Mussolini soldiers did when they were holding out in resistance and still fighting with Hitler for 2 years. It was one of the ways they could tell the difference between them because they'd have their pipe and be smoking salt. And you can actually sit there. It really does look exactly like they're smoking crack. It really does. And it's like, if I hadn't sat around there with it, and it's like I've known about it since I've been like 4 or something else and seen them actually do it and everything else. And it's like they're doing it on their own property. It's no drugs. Have the people come in, and it's like, they don't even want to come in the police because they know that whoever saw it, they're going to have to take them in, and then they're going to have to cut a quick check or whatever it is. It's like Walmart or some other place, cutting a check because of something happened and it doesn't even really go to court or anything else. And then therefore it's like gone in so many days. And this is one of those things that I think is more the appropriate question for a person who is supposedly very much of faith and supposedly is changing very much from a lot of the situations out there, especially since we're no longer a nation that has like 15-17% of people that are considered Jewish by whatever it was, by the reservation in southern Poland or anything. There's some other things that I could go along with and say out there from other things over that percentage number. Now we're underneath like 1% in the USA. Mostly because a lot of people are starting to prepare for the NIV Bible being made a more part of law. that we don't really use, even though it's against separation of church and state, and be like, well, there won't be any church punishments like, cutting off hands, death penalty, or religious punishments, stoning people to death, and other things, and how they could try and possibly blend it. While there is the separation of church and state, and I'm pretty sure that, make sure I say her name right here, the Honorable Judge Amy Coney Barrett. I've heard it said 2 or 3 different ways out there with it, with Barnett, and I think everybody's getting dyslexic nowadays. We'll blame the chemicals in the meat. And just in saying, while I think she would instantly say it's the separation of church and state on the NIV Bible, and by everything that I could see with her 30 seconds of everything, and basically most of all the responses that I can see from her, because everybody seems to be not asking a question and going on and on and on for a political showdown, is from her previous confirmation to the federal court system. I think that we do need to be asking these questions over that, and even over the situation over the new faith of the French people that has really shaken up our trade deals, with the fact that the president of France is now an elected king, since we have pulled they have, more to speak of, pulled the wall down around the French principality that was still holding out for Mussolini. And how we can have more open dealings with, because with the French royalty, them being a French royal president, it has reshaped everything. It's why we pulled out of the Paris Climate Accords that no one's really touching about. It is why we have had to renegotiate everything, because they're so ingrained in the former French Polynesian and French Southeast Asian areas of colonization, as well as any place that's a war in the Pacific. They really are very much attached to that, so it has to renegotiate everything. And as it is with China, I know I'm probably going to be told that I'm wrong on this, but as far as I know, they were in Vietnam and Laos and Thailand, and Myanmar kept them out, or else Thailand kept them out, as like the only place that wasn't conquered by a foreign power, and is still an independent kingship in that way. Just in saying that right there, we have to renegotiate the trade deals with everybody, because it's like it pulled a major cog or domino out. And looking at it with royalty, and it's so complicated. I mean, this is something that the Security Council has to be aware of it. They have to know over this. It could even throw into things with how Bill Clinton said, we will take people from the third estate, because the third estate and the marquise that he threw out, I can't remember which one it is necessarily. There's actually some of them around here from certain things, and they throw in a lot of different codes that it's for the next generation. Like they say, it's now the time of the sod, or the sun, and therefore they failed at whatever they did, and it's now time for the new one. It's now time for this. It's now time for anything else. And we actually kept many of their lineages on a personal non-immigration. They couldn't immigrate to the USA. It was totally illegal. It's considered an act of war, because they had gone out and murdered a king that was our ally. And anytime that there's a new French royalty, we have a huge situation, especially with how they supported the Confederacy. And in a way, we were kind of at war with France, some people could say. I won't go that far as saying that. I do have friends that are over in France. I've visited twice in my life. I was very lucky. And I do really like the French people. I love southern France. My family has stories from southern France. This is just one of those things that happens in life. And a lot of the trade deals probably could be taken care of with certain things legally in the law. But would they go against freedom of religion? Which in this case, I do like arguing myself, and everybody laughs at me. Freedom of religion doesn't mean freedom from religion. It means freedom from a king or person over you that says your people are now my people. Says that this is now your brother, this is now your father, this is now your uncle. And you say that that's really slavery and the slavery amendment. There's things where people are chained together against their will. And then there's, yes, I understand everybody's going to be like, there's magic in the Constitution. Voodoo or Voodoo comes out of the Dongolan language and dialects. Christian mysticism. Royalty rule. Meet some of the blue necks that come down and everything else. Even if they ain't the racist ones, they're all like, you know, your name's English. I'm like, when the fuck did this turn? I said the F word. I apologize. It's like, when did this turn into an IRA Protestant situation here in the USA? YouTube, I know you have an editor. Please give that one. That's why I stop in between here. It's 22 minutes long. But these are some of the questions that I think that if there is something of faith that we all hear about coming up more and more, there's more presidential edicts on faith. The appointment of this judge will not be anything, or the next one if the Democrats get in or whatever, they go 15 days, we're not going to approve her, and we're going to approve this other person. I think this is what we're going to have. And just for a mean situation, so we can have a mean question. We're all going to be a mean question. Okay. Rights of adoption. When I was a teenager, there was a kid that divorced their parents in Florida. It was Florida, I think northern Florida, north of Orlando. In adoption, what is the rights of the child if they wish to sever at the time of 18 or 21 or 25, whenever it is that they are off their parents' health insurance, a legal adult, if we remove that from the Constitution and the right to vote and everything else, are we able to have you judge these matters in a independent fashion? Or do you think you would recuse yourself under it? And what do you think over law with people who would con or otherwise manipulate the situation with illegal immigration, not illegal colonization, they're two separate things, with people coming across the border or refugees from any of the Caribbean islands in order to force an adoption with those children? Or if we have a thing where there is no immigration for a time period in the United States for the stability of it, should people be allowed to adopt children from an international situation? Or should we stipulate that it is an illegal form of immigration, if we have a moratorium on it, and that one should be required to only adopt children from within inside the United States? There's a Democratic, we don't like her because she's Republican nominated, or anything else, since, I've been busting the religious rights balls here with this one. Sorry. I've done 5 videos back to back here. YouTube editors, thank you. With all of this and everything being there over it, I think these would be more of prudent questions without my colorful language for however it would be for the possibility of a future judicial nominee like she is. With everything being said there, I bid you a good night, and I hope to have these all uploaded tomorrow. And maybe I'll try and do the presidential debate. I know it's a little bit long from there, but I don't think we're going to be having any more, so it's the only thing we can really nitpick and push on. And also, I want to ask some of my questions. It's like they're not really asking any questions for the future. I mean, they're asking some good questions, but we got to get some stuff done here. Just like I got to get back to the gym. I used to work out 3 hours a day, such for 1 day a week, maybe. Please make the fat comments. And thank you, YouTube editors. Like and subscribe. This is Colin Dawson signing off with the Political Minute.